What is going on, operators? Yashoki here talking about a little bit of Rainbow Six Siege. So this is a little different video that I wanted to make because I've been wondering this for a while. A lot of videos talk about tactics and tips and tricks and things of that nature, but I wanted to talk about the metagame for Rainbow Six. So for those of you who don't know, the metagame to any game refers to the overall strategy of the game. So, for example, this is actually a really good example, League of Legends, right? So, depending on what kind of tweaks or changes in the patch they'll make for Rainbow Six, not Rainbow Six, for League of Legends, you'll see different types of team compositions. So, for example, if they buffed like a tanking item, you might see tankier teams roll out as opposed to more damage heavy teams. And this changes very often with League of Legends. Probably one of the reasons why people enjoy it so much that year to year, season to season, the game's never the same. It changes all the time. And I've noticed that since Rainbow Six has come out, the meta for Rainbow Six has changed as well. For example, when the game first came out, people were very heavy on sticking by the objective, being as close to it as possible, and just basically being really relatively close to the objective. And as people get better, as people kind of learn the operators and figure out what works and what doesn't, I noticed that the new meta tends to favor really heavy roaming teams. This is from my experience playing a good number of ranked games, a lot of casual games. Ranked right now is kind of broken, so I don't mess with that too much anymore. Well, hopefully they'll fix that soon. But I noticed a lot of roaming, and because of that, you have different operators in the game a lot more. So, for example, Jaeger. When Jaeger first was revealed to the world, in Rainbow Six Siege, he was more of a defensive type of operator. People tend to stick him right by the objective. They put this little anti-grenade turrets down, and they were just gonna, sit him really close and use him, as a defender. The problem with him though is that he has like zero armor, so he dies very, very quickly. So if you ever happen to get a grenade hit you in the face or a glass, you're probably going down in usually one hit, two if you're lucky. Um, but since people have gotten better at the game, and since the overall comfortableness of people playing has changed, I've noticed that the meta has definitely switched over to a more roamer style. So because of that, operators like Giger and even Blitz have been seeing a lot more play, definitely outside of the objective room. So what makes a really good roamer? Uh, Definitely very, very high speed. Capkin is a decent roamer. He's probably one of the only operators who's really designed to be a roamer because those traps usually don't work close to the objective room. You want to put them in kind of non-obvious spots, usually by entrances or maybe kind of walkways where they'll have to walk through. So you can hopefully get a kill with your trip mine. But he's slow as balls. He's got really high armor. He's got 3 armor, which is really nice. But because he's so slow, he can't cover a whole lot of ground. A reason why I think that roaming has become more predominant, more common, I guess you could say, is a map like, for example, Yacht. So Yacht is the newest map that came out with the new DLC Black Ice that that introduced Buck and introduced Frost. Um, because Yacht is such a giant map, Yacht is huge. Yacht is like 50 floors, and it's got like a little underground area and even like a little area under it too with the breakable wall that people never seem to notice. Because he has such high speed and really decent weapons, and by decent I mean freaking amazing, his weapons do a butt ton of damage. You can pop someone, take him down from one end of the map, quickly run under the map, pop up on the other side, get someone else because they're facing the area that the dude got shot from, thinking oh they're coming right for my face. Jaeger is really excelling right now. Maps like Oregon, with the giant tower, he's really good for that because he could put down his defenses. He can even put down maybe like a barricade or two. And he can run all the way up to that tower and hopefully maybe get 1 or 2 kills. Probably the worst example, or well, worst, but the best example, which really annoys me personally, is for example, Airplane. Airplane is my least favorite map for the sole reason that Jaeger can pop out of any one of those little holes, shoot a couple dudes with this really high-powered, high-damage, high-speed weapon, and then run back in and end up on the other side where people are walking in from because they're afraid of that hole that he came out. Um, so it's really interesting to me to see how the game has evolved from a player standpoint, from a player skill standpoint too. Now, something that I wonder as well, and hopefully some of you lovely people here can help me with that, is how will the meta change in the future for Rainbow Six? So one of the things that we have to remember when it comes to a game like League of Legends is League of Legends is a very stats, very item-based game. You can tweak a lot of values. For example, the mana use of a particular champion, or the health pool, or even the attack speed, and things like that. The only way I can really think that they could tweak Rainbow Six uh, and the meta would have to be through the weapons, I believe. Um, and we can kind of pick this apart as we go along. Um, so a weapon, for example, like Frost. Frost is an amazing defender. The Super 90, her shotgun, has a ridiculous amount of range. It is really, really good. Probably the best shotgun in the game since Jaeger's, and Jaeger's shotgun was really good too. But unfortunately, his rifle is so much better that especially for taking out targets at a distance, that you would just roll with that no matter what, unless you're the unfortunate person who has to play a defending Jaeger nowadays. Um, but because you can't really change health pools, you can't really change items, and not everybody can pick up the same item or the same weapon, you can't really tweak the meta as much. Maybe doing something like tweaking the speed. Maybe the developers might think, you know what, Jaeger's too fast. He's really good, but he's too fast. But then he also has the lack of armor, or you can say lack of health pool to really kind of tone that down. So there are a couple things that Ubisoft themselves could do to really kind of tweak the game, kind of tweak the meta for Rainbow Six. But I don't know if that's really going to change, and I think that it might actually have to change based on either the map or just the player base. The game hasn't been out for that long, only a couple months now. I think what came out December, maybe late November. I forget off the top of my head. Forget a lot of things. What can you do? Um, but since the game has come out, people have stopped playing very defensive, and I think this clip I'm actually showing you here shows it pretty well. You don't really need to see it. For those just listening, it's still good. Um, we have, I think, nobody at this point, or this particular round, nobody is actually by the objective room. Everybody's in the surrounding area. We have one or two people actually running around roaming. Even as Castle, and you think Castle would be a very defensive, sit in one spot, because Castle has a really nice weapon. He has the UMP, and because he has a good amount of armor with Rook's plates, it really changes the way that I started playing Castle, because he could be semi-mobile. But because he has the extra health pool, you can kind of roam around, kind of a little bit around the objective area, not directly in it, because if you're just gonna hole it in, you can really get killed by again a sniper or a grenade or anything like that. The amount of grenade kills I've gotten with someone like Thermite just by kind of cooking that nade and chucking it in the objective room is hilarious. It's a lot. um, so it's just one of those things where I really wonder how they're going to be able to change it, if they want to change it. A game, for example, like Counter-Strike Go, doesn't really change the meta too often because it's not very often that they'll tweak a lot of weapon values. The biggest change that I can think off the top of my head would be when they slowed down the movement speed while it's scoped in with the op. Um, that did make some people kind of rethink using the op, especially from a camping at the very beginning of the map, especially with maps like Dust 2 or even Inferno. Um, but you still see people using the op all the time. It's still a premium weapon. It's still a weapon that can really shut down teams if used correctly and if positioned correctly. There really aren't that many weapons like that in Rainbow Six. I do feel like the Super 90 might could stand a little bit of tuning down just because it does have a really good amount of range. I've seen people just kind of blind fire into an area and get a couple of kills because the spread doesn't seem to be too wide. Um, the range is really good. It's kind of indicative of all the shotguns in Rainbow Six Siege. A lot of the shotguns have a really good amount of range, and the spread isn't that bad, especially considering the medium to long ranges that some people might be using those weapons at. So this is just a little something that I was kind of wondering for the past couple of days, how the meta for Rainbow Six might change. The choices of operators. I used to play a lot of defensive. Now I do a lot of pulse. I do a lot of Jaeger. I don't like Bandit's weapon just because it seems really small and tiny. Even though I know it's really good, I prefer to use Jaeger. I also used to play a lot of Glaz, but now I roll with a lot of IQ, especially on the attacking team, mostly because IQ again can get in really, really quickly and flank the other roamers. So as people change their tactics, I'm changing mine because I can no longer play slow and methodical, and that's kind of how Rainbow Six used to be played. Very slow, very planned out. You kind of go in and attack, and you kind of find the best way to take out the objective room. Now the way I play it is, what's the best way for me to take out the guys who are roaming? Now I take a lot longer to actually get into the room I take longer to get into the actual building sometimes, as opposed to I run in. Okay, now we're all outside the objective room. How are we gonna go in? From the top, from the bottom, from the side? Do we got a thermite? We're gonna go in from that door. Now it's okay. If I go in through this doorway, I know that these spots are really good for roamers. They like to camp and wait for a couple of quick kills before they run around the rest of the map. And sometimes I'll even let a couple of my guys go in first. So, example, Blitz and Mountain, and also if you happen to be the unfortunate person who plays, um, what's his name, Fuse, not Fuse, yeah, Fuse, with a shield. Why you would do that, I don't know. Some people do. Well, what can you say? Um, so it's always really cool to me to see the overall gameplay of a game change, and I'm very excited to see how Rainbow Six is going to be changing the gameplay, and not even from like a high level play. Because if you ever spend any time playing League of Legends and you go away from it for a minute and then you come back, you notice that people are playing the game completely differently. Oh, everyone's favoring Caitlyn. No, now they're favoring Ash for whatever reason. They're favoring this person now because the meta's changed because somebody got their attack damage tweaked, so now you can't get as many hits off, in like a short kind of skirmish. So now you're gonna play this with a guy who can maybe do a lot more damage with a little bit of less effort, or things of that nature. So those are my thoughts on the Rainbow Six meta, how it can change, how it will change, how those changes will come about. Will it be through tweaking the values or the stats for the operators or for the weapons? Will it be through adding new operators? I know that they're going to be adding at least six more, two US, two Brazil, and I believe two Japan should be the last ones coming out. Um, and if you guys have any questions or comments or thoughts on this particular topic, let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to see what you guys think. But it's definitely a topic that really interests me, how the overall strategy of a game changes over time, and especially how that change happens because a developer adds content or takes content or changes content. Because no matter what change you make, there's always some kind of unforeseen consequences. Um, so yeah, thank you very much, guys. I'll see you in the next one, and take care.